Starting off at number 10, we have Aubrey O'Day. Aubrey O'Day has been going viral on social media after people have been comparing some recent paparazzi photos to her Instagram photos, and spoiler alert, they look completely different. The paparazzi photos taken of her walking her dog were the first time she'd been seen out in public since October of 2019, and she was literally unrecognizable, especially when in her Instagram photos, her body has basically an entirely different shape. Aubrey has clapped back at the photos, saying the paparazzi ones are doctored. However, after that, just days later, she was spotted at a pool, again looking very similar to the paparazzi ones from before. And apparently it's confirmed that the woman is Aubrey, as the other pool guests heard her saying her name multiple times. And to be clear, I do not want you guys to think that I'm shaming her for the way that she looks, because I absolutely don't want to do that. But I'm gonna shame her if she's photoshopping herself to be a completely different person on her Instagram, and she won't fess up to it. In at number 9, Carrot Top. Comedian Carrot Top looks completely different than he did in his prime, and now he looks pretty unrecognizable. He's best known for his long red curly hair, and he's also known to a lot of people as someone who had a botched plastic surgery. If you look at before and after photos, it's pretty clear he had some sort of facelift, and his eyebrows and just eye shape in general are incredibly different. Along with the facelift, he's rumored to have undergone chemical peels, gotten Botox, filler, and even had his body injected with steroids to improve his muscles. As of now, he's regarded as having one of the worst plastic surgery fails of all time. But the good thing is apparently it hasn't changed his comedy much, and he still has adoring fans that will come see him perform. And at number 8, Calvin Harris. Calvin Harris is another star that turned from scruffy and somewhat awkward to a classy and polished hunk. Back in 2008 when he first started DJing, he was known for his long, scruffy, dark brown hair. But only a few years later, after becoming a bona fide celebrity, he's now a blonde bombshell, capturing the hearts of beautiful women like Taylor Swift. And he's certainly looking more cleaned up with his new image and dapper suits, usually. I do see him in a lot of suits.
Coming in at number 7, Lance Bass. NSYNC member Lance Bass captured the hearts of many. From his charm to his talent, Lance Bass and his boy band members were undoubtedly plastered on the walls of fans all over the world. He reached the height of his success in the mid to late 90s and has held on to much of his success in the following years. But one thing he may not have held on to was his appearance. Lance started out looking like this with his boyish looks. Complete with spiky frosted tips and cool guy leather jacket, Lance was really killing it in 1999, but fast forward to now in 2020 and Lance is looking good, but very different. He's traded in his frosted tips for gray tips, I guess you could say. He's obviously older now and he doesn't quite have the baby face he used to. He looks pretty different and unrecognizable, but in a good way. You can tell that he's grown in a more positive light and it really reflects on his appearance.
Moving along to number 6, we have Abigail Breslin. Some people would have first seen her in the 2002 horror movie Signs, but it wasn't until 2006 that she actually made a real name for herself. The 10-year-old actress at the time got her first feature film when she took on the lead role in Little Miss Sunshine. She was nominated for an Oscar for her performance. Since then, she has remained relevant in the industry and has built a successful career for herself. She appeared in a variety of movies like New Year's Eve and Zombieland Double Tap, and could also be seen in the TV series Scream Queens. She's still pretty young, she is only 23 years old, so she has a long career ahead of her.
Halfway through at number 5, John Finlay. John Finlay probably isn't someone you'll know by name, but if you watched Tiger King, then you definitely know who he is. And if you didn't watch, he was Joe Exotic's ex-husband, who for most of the show was missing a ton of his front teeth. But after the success of the doc, he was able to get a new set of teeth. But that's not the only change, as a tattoo he had during the marriage that said, quote, privately owned by Joe Exotic, has now been removed, as he covered it up with some other tattoos. He also told people that he just wants to start a new life with his fiancée and heal from the past he had with Joe Exotic. And with his new smile and facial hair, he practically looks like a whole new person, and I personally just couldn't be more happy for him. In at number 4, Ariel Winter. Ariel Winter first became known to most people through her role in Modern Family, and she plays an adorable and awkward teenage character coming into her own. But as Ariel has grown up, she looks totally different. In 2015, when she was 17, she was legally emancipated from her parents. She decided to get a breast reduction surgery, telling Glamour in August, quote, I got it for myself. I can't even really put into words how amazing it feels to really feel right. But her changing looks have caused some to think she had more work done, with people thinking she got lip fillers, cheek fillers, and a nose job. But Ariel denies those rumors. She even clapped back at one hater on an Instagram photo who accused her of having work done, saying, quote, we're also wrong about all of it, by the way. One breast reduction and I lost weight, but you do you, boo. And at number 3, Drake. Drake has had quite a transformation and seriously looked like a whole other person when he was in Canada trying to break into the industry. Drake got started in the biz when he was a teen, starring as Jimmy Brooks in the Canadian show Degrassi. And obviously back then he looked a whole lot different, especially on the show. Drake never looked bad in any way, of course. He was just an awkward teen on the show. Definitely not a heartthrob. But once Drake got into the music industry, he started changing. And now he's known as the buff and hunky rapper, usually sporting a thick beard and fresh haircuts. Also, since he's now incredibly rich, he's always in designer clothes with chains and watches. These days, the Canadian-born rapper has one of the most recognizable sounds in the business and has a net worth of over $100 million. And I respect him even more because he lives in Toronto now and just really made the city cool, in my opinion. Like he really, like the Six, like he really kind of started that trend.
At number 2, Snoop Dogg. Rapper Snoop Dogg has gone through a lot of changes. His stage name has changed a few times from being Snoop Doggy Dogg to Snoop Dogg and even Snoop Lion for a brief time, though I'm not quite sure what prompted the lion part of his name. Either way, it changes a lot, but the biggest change by far has to be his appearance. From the late 80s till now, Snoop is so different. I mean, yeah, sure, he's had the same personality and vibe about him, about all good times and all about that devil's lettuce. But if you look at his high school pictures compared to now, he is completely unrecognizable. This is Snoop in high school. I know, hard to believe. Seeing him without his longer hair in dreads or braids is so weird. He looks so clean cut, but he really wasn't too clean cut even back then. He actually sold weed to Cameron Diaz since they went to high school together, so Snoop has always been about that herb. Now fast forward to 2020. Snoop is now 48 and looks nothing like he did when he was a teenager. Now rich and famous, he's always seen sporting sunglasses and good vibes. I think we all know why. This guy is something of a legend. It's still so crazy to see how different he looks now.
We've made it to number 1 and we have Orlando Brown. He gained an instant fan base after starring on the famous Disney series That's So Raven for playing the hilarious Eddie Thomas. After That's So Raven, he went on to other acting projects and also got into the music industry. But over the past few years, he's been in trouble with the law and arrested for multiple different things. All of them including burglary, domestic battery, obstruction of justice, drug possession with intent to sell, and possession of contraband in jail. Oh yeah, he went to jail. He looks unrecognizable these days, showing off this really weird raven tattoo on his neck and also showing up to interviews with snake eye contact lenses. Currently, he is 32 years old and is out of prison and says that he is going to make a big comeback and that we should all be prepared. I am ready and waiting.
Starting off at number 10, we have Renee Zellweger. So Renee Zellweger shocked fans and other Hollywood elites in 2014 when she showed up to Elle's Women in Hollywood Awards. And people were wondering, what happened to her face? She didn't look bad at all, just a bit different. Then after all the speculation on what happened with Renee, she decided to speak on it, saying, quote, "I'm glad folks think I look different. I'm living a different, happy, more fulfilling life, and I'm thrilled that perhaps it shows. It seems like folks who come digging around for some nefarious truth which doesn't exist won't get off my porch until I answer the door," continuing that she doesn't understand all the interest, as all that's changed is that she's now healthy and peaceful. Personally, I noticed a difference in the way that she looks and talks, so I believe she did have some work done, but if she doesn't want to admit it, then that's her choice. In at number 9, Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt was first known for his role as the chubby and adorable character of Andy Dwyer in Parks and Rec, and he was purposely made to be somewhat unattractive when filming the show, with him looking straight up unhygienic at times. And even though he's always been cute, women weren't necessarily swooning over him. But nobody could have expected what happened a little while later, and when he landed the role of Peter Quill in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, he got very buff for that role, and shortly after, he revealed to the world his totally ripped body and chiseled physique. And we all quickly realized that he was a total hottie. And if you compare the before and afters, he looks like a completely different person. And I really just couldn't be more proud of him. I'm personally trying to make a transformation like that as well.
At number 8, Lucy Lawless. Actress Lucy Lawless is best known for her role as Xena in Xena Warrior Princess. The show ran from 1995 to 2001, so she was in her late 20s to early 30s when the show ran. She really rose to fame during her time as the leading lady in the show. The Warrior Princess was pretty much a Hollywood bombshell, and she looked the part too. Take a look at Lucy in 2000. She had the classic 2000s vibe going on, the natural makeup, the thin eyebrows, and that weird almost raincoat fabric that was also a thing back then for for who knows what reason. Now coming out of that 2000 shadow, we see Lucy now, known currently for her part in the Australian murder mystery show My Life is Murder. Lucy, who is now 52, is looking like this. She looks so different now. Take away the straight black hair and the 2000s fashion and you get a completely different person. Lucy is really looking unrecognizable now. She's looking more like Kelly Clarkson than Xena right now. The contrast here is unbelievable. When I saw what Lucy was looking like now, my jaw actually dropped. If I saw her walking down the street, I would not even think to guess that it was Lucy Lawless. But I guess in order to further her career and leave Xena's shadow, she had to change it up, and boy did that ever work well.
In spot number 7 is Bug Hall. The child star hit the jackpot in 1994 when he was cast in his first ever feature film The Little Rascals. The 9-year-old at the time took on the iconic role of Alfalfa. After he brought the love-struck boy to life, he went on to star in other 90s films like The Big Green, The Stupids, and Honey, We Shrunk the Kids. As he got older, he still continued to have a career making guest appearances on shows like The OC, 90210, and Criminal Minds. His real name isn't Bug though, it is actually Brandon, but he goes by Bug. In more recent years, he doesn't have too many credits to his name. He's now 34 years old, and I know what you ladies might be wondering. And yes, at the time of this recording, he is single. Might be ready to mingle.
And at number 6, Mickey Rourke. The Oscar-nominated actor's face has changed quite a bit since his first days in the spotlight. There's a good reason for this, as before Mickey was an actor, he was a boxer, and his face was damaged multiple times from boxing fights. Telling the Daily Mail in 2009, quote, "Most of it was to mend the mess of my face because of the boxing, but I went to the wrong guy to put my face back together. I had my nose broken twice. I had 5 operations on my nose and 1 on a smashed cheekbone." With a source telling Page 6 that Rourke was planning to go back into the operating room to fix up his nose again in 2015, as well as get new dental implants. Halfway number 5, Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer is someone that you guys actually commented that I missed when I did part 1, and looking at him now I can see why. Val was known back in the day as a movie star hunk, but now he looks pretty different. A lot of people wondered for years why Val started to look so different, but then he came out admitting that he was battling throat cancer after denying it for years, and saying the reason he's changed so much is because of his diagnosis. He denied being sick for many years, but in 2017, he talked about the changes his diagnosis caused, saying, quote, "I feel a lot better than I sound, but I feel wonderful. I was diagnosed with throat cancer, which healed very quickly. This is a tracheotomy to help me breathe because the glands in my throat swelled up as well." And at number 4, Pamela Anderson. Pam Anderson was once known as one of the hottest women on earth, sought after by most men on the planet. Back then, she was best known for her Barbie girl look, having long blonde hair, large fake breasts, and full lips. But as she's gotten older, she's done what she can to age gracefully, with rumors that she's gotten plastic surgery along with fillers and Botox. These days, Pam's actually sporting a more natural look with less makeup and fewer hair extensions than she did back in the day. And for some reason, her face looks like an entirely different person, at least to me. She looks incredibly beautiful, but I would not know who she was if I was just shown a picture of her now. Let me know below if you agree. I honestly, I do think for some reason her features look very, very different.
Coming in at number 3, Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter was another one of those late 90s, early 2000s celebrities that people had plastered all over their bedrooms and lockers. Aaron was quite the heartthrob back in the day. He released albums throughout the early 2000s and even toured with the Backstreet Boys after the release of his second album, Aaron's Party, back in 2000. This album in particular is really what boosted his career, as he had some of his hit songs from the album featured on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. And he even toured as the opening act for big name stars like Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys, like I said. He did all of this while he was still barely a teenager, and he looked like this. He was just a kid with his signature blonde hair and literal baby face. Now fast forward 20 years and now Aaron looks completely different. Aaron is now in his early 30s and apparently into adult films now. His appearance and career have completely changed over the years. Now Aaron is covered in tattoos and produced an album back in 2018, but other than that, we haven't really heard much from him. He's out there living his life as a former child star, and that's hard enough as it is.
Stealing the number 2 spot is Edward Furlong. Anyone who watched the Terminator film series would have recognized him as John Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Things are going pretty good after his breakout role. He went on to star in a handful of blockbuster movies throughout the 90s like American Heart, Pecker, and American History X. But his career started to dry up when he started struggling with an addiction to drugs. Throughout the years, he's had a lot of legal battles for drug-related offenses. He has been open to media about it though, explaining he was hooked on heroin and cocaine, which has played a huge factor in his drastic appearance change. Good news is, in 2019, he made his return in the newest movie of the series, Terminator Dark Fate. So despite his appearance changes, he did make a comeback in this industry.
And finally, number 1, Lil Kim. Lil Kim is another person who seems to have gotten way too caught up with plastic surgery and other modifications. And between 2008 and 2018, the rapper turned into a whole new person. People have many speculations about what she's had done, thinking she had a nose job and something done to her eyes, but there have also been rumors that she's lightened her skin. The rumors around it are so bad that there are even entire blogs dedicated to showing the changes in her face over the years. Lil Kim's team actually responded to the presence of these blogs, saying, quote, "We would like to inform fans, the media, and the general public that this is nothing more than the blog site doing its best to conjure up some much needed publicity, and what better way to do so than to take an American music icon and create a fictitious platform in which to disrespect and humiliate," then inferring that they would be taking legal action against anyone who would be spreading lies about her. But with the work that it's clear that Kim's had, I mean, I'm not sure she'd have much of a case, right? And at number 10, Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin is of course best known as the adorable child actor, but when he grew up, he became completely unrecognizable. A big part of this is because of the ups and downs that took place in his life in his teen years and early adulthood. As after Home Alone, he struggled to duplicate the success. After some struggling in acting, he decided to adopt a low-key life out of the spotlight. A lot of people have criticized Macaulay for his unkempt look, and have even said the look is due to poor financials. But considering he knows how to clean up when he needs to, it seems the style change might just be to differentiate himself from his child stardom days.
And at number 9, Jesse McCartney. Now let's talk about this beautiful soul, Jesse McCartney. Jesse is known to most as the teen heartthrob from the late 90s and early 2000s. He got his start on the daytime drama All My Children and started a music career with boy band Dream Street before beginning his solo career, where he dropped his famous banger, Beautiful Soul, in 2004. But it's been 16 years since Jesse stole our hearts with that song, and he's grown a lot since then. Back in 2004, Jesse was still a babyface kid whom I think most people in middle school had a crush on. I mean, not me, he's not my type, but you know. This kid was the epitome of cool in the 2000s. I mean, look at that style. The collared shirt underneath the graphic tee, the bracelets, the streaky swoopy hair. I mean, he was the coolest guy in town. Now fast forward to 2020, Jesse is now 33 and he's left his 2000s style behind and he's looking pretty good. Jesse looks pretty different now. You can tell that he's aged, obviously, because it's been 16 years. He's ditched the swoopy hair for a more structured coif, and he's kind of giving me lawyer vibes for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just the picture. Jesse isn't really in the public eye much anymore. Last time he was seen on camera acting was a few years back on the show Younger. The most recent appearance he's had was on The Masked Singer, but other than that, there hasn't really been much news on Jesse, but he's still a beautiful soul regardless.
Swiping the number 8 spot is Davy Chase. She's the actress who portrayed the scary girl from The Ring, Samara Morgan. The iconic horror movie blessed our screens back in 2002, and her character has gone on to be a classic Halloween costume or even a good old prank. The child star found her way into the spotlight with this movie, and it even won her the Best Villain Award at the 2003 MTV Movie Awards. She's always pursued an acting career, appearing on shows like HBO's Big Love. She also voiced Lilo in the 2002 Disney's movie Lilo and Stitch. She's now 29 years old and hasn't appeared in anything since 2018, but she does keep a pretty consistent following on her social media pages. So, if you want to creep her, go creep, because I did. She looks a lot different.
And at number 7, Aaron Carter. Aaron Carter was a child star, making a name for himself as a teen heartthrob after releasing a few hit singles. But as with a lot of child stars, he eventually lost his shine, with him becoming addicted to substances for many years. And he seems to have come back into the media after he got into some legal troubles with his family. But to the public that knew him from when he was a child star, he's unrecognizable, with him now having plenty of face tattoos and piercings, with just more of a rough exterior in general. However, he still has the same bleach blonde hair that we loved about him before, and I mean, I guess I kind of do too, so I can relate to him on that. And at number 6, Jennifer Grey. I don't know about you guys, but I've seen Dirty Dancing so many times that I have the image of Jennifer Grey in that movie basically imprinted in my mind. And I think it goes the same for a lot of you, because not only was that movie iconic back then, but it's still beloved now. But the star of the movie looks drastically different than how she did back then. So much that I had no idea who it was when I looked at the pictures of her now. One of the most drastic changes she went through was getting a nose job. And even though I'm sure tons of haters told her that she needed to get it done, it was actually a pretty serious mistake. since her nose was the most recognizable thing about her. When she changed it, it made her look like any other run-of-the-mill kind of girl. And even though she looks beautiful, she doesn't look how she used to. Halfway number 5, Kesha. When Kesha first came on the music scene, she looked drastically different than she does now. Back then, she played up the party aesthetic and purposely tried to look like she constantly had woken up with a hangover. But more recently, she's tried to clean up her look and adopt a more mature aesthetic. She also changed her look during a high-profile court battle with producer Dr. Luke, whom she claims assaulted her. There have also been rumors of some facial modifications. It seems that the singer has had some lip fillers, and there's speculation over whether she's had a rhinoplasty and breast augmentation as well. But either way, she looks absolutely beautiful.
In at 4, Grayson Russell. Here's another former child star who's completely unrecognizable today. Grayson Russell, better known as Fragley from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. Much like Daniel Curtis Lee, Grayson was cast as the signature awkward nerdy kid that no one really wanted to hang out with. The character of Fragley in the films was totally the neighbor's kid that your parents tell you to hang out with. Even out of character as a kid, Grayson was this little pasty kid that much resembled Connor Monroe from Top 10 Gaming. If you know, you know. But now, 10 years after the film's release, Grayson looks completely different now. You wouldn't recognize him if you saw him walking down the street. Grayson is now 22 years old, still pale, but totally killing it. Again, much like Daniel Lee, this kid has a good old glow up and it worked. What's with actors who play nerdy characters and turn out like this? Maybe I should have been nerdier in my younger days. Maybe I'd be hot now.
In our 3rd spot is Haley Mathers. Alright, so this one is an exception because she's technically not a child star. The only reason she's even famous is because Eminem is her dad. However, everyone knew who she was because he was always rapping about her in his lyrics, which also turned into music videos. Back in the 90s, when he was still known as Slim Shady, he released the infamous song Haley's Song. She was only 6 years old when the song was released in 2002. You would probably never recognize her now. She is now 24 years old and is known as an Instagram influencer. She is known as Haley Jade Scott online and has a whopping 1.8 million followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. When you look at her, I can totally tell she's related to Eminem, like you can see the resemblance. It's actually kind of weird to see her all grown up like this. Not gonna lie. She's beautiful though.
And at number 2, Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill was brought to the big screen as his lovable and goofy characters, and where he had his super curly hair and was seen in casual clothes most of the time. But over the last few years, as his acting has garnered critical acclaim, he's changed his looks a lot too, and the goofy and lovable teen that he once was is no longer there. With Jonah now a lot more chic with his clothing and hair choices, with him usually having shorter styled hair and a trimmed beard. He's also changed up his eating and fitness habits, and has lost weight because of it, speaking openly in the media about the roller coaster journey with his weight. And finally, number 1, Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson's face has changed many times over the decades, and she really doesn't look like she's aged at all. All of these changes and the lack of aging can definitely be attributed to cosmetic procedures, with fans saying that she looks unrecognizable compared to when she was younger. And even though Janet has never publicly admitted to having work done, that doesn't mean that people won't speculate. One cosmetic doctor spoke to Mir online, saying that they believe she had a neck lift as well as a nose job to change the tip of her nose. As well, the doctors think she got filler in her cheeks as well as possibly the jawline.
Kicking us off at number 10, Alanis Morissette. Alanis Morissette is known best for her 90s to early 2000s discography, most notably her Jagged Little Pill album featuring her song Ironic. The song that isn't even about irony because she's using that term wrong. Rain on your wedding day isn't ironic, it's just bad luck. Anyway, 25 years after the release of the hit album, Alanis is looking pretty unrecognizable these days in 2020. Take a look at this picture from back in the late 90s. In the image, she's got her signature long flowy hair that kind of reminds me of a majestic wild Mustang. The horse, not the car, obviously. She's also got the leather jacket and the boho tapestry in the background going on too. Whenever I think of Alanis, I think of earth tones and just soft boho vibes, and this image really captures it. This picture was taken in '95, around the time that her album was released, so she was about 21 years old or so. Now fast forward to 2020, she's now 46 and looking very different from how she was in her early 20s. Now sporting shorter hair, this version of the singer is looking more mature. Seems like she's ditched her flowy earthy clothing for more structured businessy sort of threads, sporting a lot of blazers and denim combos as I've come to find out. Either way, she looks great, and the only thing she really needs to work on is her definition of irony.
Next up at number 9 is Haley Joel Osment, also known as the kid from The Sixth Sense. It's been over 20 years since the movie first scared its audiences all across the globe. The movie was iconic, and we'd be lying if we said a big part of that wasn't the young actor's performance. He was just 11 years old when he he was cast to play Cole Spear, leaving us with the infamous phrase, "I see dead people." Years after he delivered the iconic line, he continued to pursue his acting career with credits like Pay It Forward and The Country Bears. Overall, his acting career didn't quite land as many iconic lines as before, but he has been able to keep his own. The now 31-year-old is still booking roles wherever he can. His last one was in 2019 on the TV series The Kaminsky Method.
And at number 8, David Letterman. David Letterman had a long and successful career on TV, and we know him well for his clean-cut look. However, since his retirement, he looks like a completely different person, with him growing out his facial hair to a full-fledged long beard. Like, I swear he'd be a great mall Santa, you know? And I'm not the only one who's pointed this out, as his new look has been the center of tons of headlines recently, with Jonathan Van Ness even doing a whole segment where he tried to tame Letterman's beard. Because obviously Jonathan is the king of beards, like come on. He's also sporting more of a laid back look, with him often in sweats compared to the suit and tie that we're used to. And at number 7, Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan is someone else that people claim looks incredibly different now, because it's pretty obvious she's had some work done. In 2016 is when she first showed off her new look at the Tony Awards, and everyone was shocked that the woman we had seen in 90s rom-coms wasn't really there anymore. It was pretty evident to everyone that Meg probably got some filler in her cheeks and lips, because they looked noticeably more plump. Meg has always denied that she went under the knife, but I think by looking at the pictures, even though it is somewhat subtle, I think it's still pretty obvious she had some work done. And at number 6, Gina Davis. Gina Davis is best known for her roles in the 1991 movie Thelma and Louise and baseball flick A League of Their Own. And fans of the star are shocked by her new look, as she looks much different than how she used to on the big screen. It's no secret that some actors and actresses age more gracefully than others, but sadly it seems that time has kind of taken its toll on Davis. There's been some speculation that she's gotten some botched plastic surgery, as her husband is actually a plastic surgeon. But looking closer, I honestly don't think so, as her face looks pretty much the same. She just looks, older. And since Gina is not much in the limelight anymore, there is a possibility that the pictures of her that were taken were just honestly on a bad day. Like, it really happens to the best of us.
Halfway through at number 5, Daniel Curtis Lee. Now I'm just gonna warn you, your jaw might fall on the floor when you see this next guy. Daniel Curtis Lee, probably best known for his role as Cookie in the Nickelodeon show Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. If you remember him from the show, you might recall when he looked like this. He was a stereotypical nerd character, the one with all the tech, all the knowledge, and a set of braces and glasses to complete the look. I loved his character because of how quirky he was, but now he's so far from these Cookie days. This man is so unrecognizable that it's absolutely insane. Just look at him now. It's like he ate Cookie for protein and then got jacked. This is a glow up, my friends. The kind of glow up I wish I could have had. Daniel here is so not that child star we knew him to be years ago. Nowadays he's still acting, but I can guarantee you he's not being typecast as the nerd any longer.
We're here now at number 4, and we have Barrett Oliver. Back in the 1980s, he was a very popular child star, mostly known for his role in the legendary movie The Never-Ending Story. One would think that his acting career would only go up from there, and it might have, but he decided to walk away from it all when he was just 16 years old. He ended up finding an interest in photography, so he ended up going to college to study it. He studied under an artist named Steven Berkman and 2 master photographers who introduced him to the unique 19th century technique of wet plate photography. From there, he created his own unique style and has spent the last decade giving lectures and hosting his own workshops around the country to promote his craft. Not only is he a photography teacher though, he also is an author. He published a book called A History of the Woodbury Type. Honestly, he probably has the most drastic change on this list if we're talking about just appearances. Like, I would never recognize him. Not a chance.
And at number 3, Kylie Jenner. Kylie is now one of the biggest celebrities on earth, but back when she was growing up in front of the world on Keeping Up, there was a few-year period where I literally had no idea who she was, because she looked nothing like the Kylie that I saw on TV. She stayed with her current look for the past few years, but in about 2015 to 2017 is when she had her major changes. And now that she looks like an entirely new person, people are wondering what procedures she's had done, although she did admit to getting lip fillers. We might never know for sure, but people speculate she's had breast and butt implants, and eyebrow lift, Botox, and fillers in her cheeks and chin. But honestly, that's probably the tip of the iceberg. And again, I don't care at all what she does with her body, but it makes me mad that she won't admit to it. And at number 2, Daryl Hannah. Actress Daryl Hannah was another person who people believe was plagued by bad plastic surgery. After photos released of her showed her face looking really puffy and unnatural, everyone was pretty convinced that she had been botched. But Hannah denies having work done. She told Britain's Daily Mail, quote, "There was a picture taken a while ago of me emerging from the ocean with my hair slicked back and no makeup on. I looked as though I had puffy, squinty eyes, and the rumor went round that I had work done. I lost jobs because of it and I thought of suing." But even though she denied surgery, she didn't deny filler or Botox, and doctors now believe fillers are the case of the change, and the filler now dissolving is why she looks more like her normal old self. Plastic surgeon Dr. Richard Fleming of Beverly Hills told Hollywood Life, quote, "Her face looks much rounder. Everything about her face used to be much thinner. Cheeks, jawline, nasal label lines, everything was much more pronounced. In my opinion, there's a lot more fullness and it's not a natural contour. I have no idea what they did, but there is filler material in there." And finally, number 1, Jake Thomas. The former Lizzie McGuire star has definitely grown up a ton since his days on the hit show, which is obviously to be expected. Back in the day, he was the mischievous younger brother of Lizzie, known for his light brown spiky hair, but he's of course grown up. I truly would not recognize that that was him if you just showed me what he looked like now. He's much darker long hair, usually with a beard. He's also still acting on shows like CSI, Cold Case, Criminal Minds, and more. But sadly, you will not be seeing him in the Lizzie McGuire reboot, as that is no longer happening. I'm still not over it.
Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Taylor Momsen. If you don't know who I'm talking about, she was Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch, the adorable little blonde who won over our hearts singing "Where Are You Christmas" at just 7 years old. She was far too cute not to be recognized as a child star. And then in her teens, she became known for her role as Jenny on the Gossip Girl series. Overall, she's kept a very clean cut and innocent look, which is why you would never recognize her nowadays. In 2009, she completely changed her image when she became the lead singer of the band called The Pretty Reckless. Cindy Lou Who is now 26 years old and continues to kill it with the rock band, being their leading lady.
And at number 9, Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is someone that we have seen make many style changes over the years, with some of them being so drastic that you truly would not believe it was him at times. He started off with his classic Even Stevens child actor look that we all know and love, but then as he grew up and phased out of child stardom, he grew his beard super long, then at some points grew out his hair too, then buzzed it once. But his style choices were also the talk of many. With him sporting so many interesting fashion choices, I literally cannot even begin to describe them all. One time wearing bright pink leggings, Uggs, and even going out in just underwear at one point. Then there was the infamous time he showed up to a red carpet with a paper bag on his head that said, "I'm not famous anymore." And there were definitely a few points during these style changes where I didn't even recognize him at all. But I think there's one thing that we can all agree on, and that's the fact that the guy has swag. Like, his confidence to pull off some of these looks is just unmatched, and I am so here for it. And at number 8, Heidi Montag. Heidi Montag, who is best known for her days on reality TV show The Hills, is notorious for getting tons of facial and body modifications done to change her innocent look into more of a Hollywood Barbie look. Back in 2010, at age 23, The Hills star revealed that she had undergone 10 body-altering procedures in one day, including a brow lift, a chin reduction, and Botox injections. She allegedly has had work done on almost every part of her body, ranging from neck liposuction to a butt augmentation. She also had a mini brow lift, chin reduction, Botox in her forehead and frown areas, as well as fat injected into her cheeks and lips. And looking at the before and after does show a massive difference in looks. Thankfully though, all the procedures were done well, and she seems to be happy with them all. And at number 7, Khloe Kardashian. We, but more specifically me, have all been watching the Kardashian family change and grow throughout the many years they've been on television. Khloe started filming Keeping Up when she was just 23 years old, the youngest of the Kardashian sisters. And of course, Khloe has always been beautiful, and personally I think the most entertaining too. But she's changed a lot over the years. In the first years of the show, Khloe's weight was constantly criticized by the media, as well as some members of her own family, along with the fact that she looks very different from her other sisters, with Khloe being taller and with lighter features, while Kim and Kourtney are much shorter with curvier figures as well, and have more Middle Eastern features. But over the last few years, Khloe went through a dramatic transformation. Firstly, she started prioritizing working out and eating healthy, and lost a ton of weight. even starting a show called Revenge Body, where she would help people reach their goal weights too. Chloe has also been called out for getting obvious plastic surgery. It's been speculated that she's gotten a nose job, fat injected into her butt, and also lip and potentially cheek filler. And she definitely looks a lot different than she did when we were first introduced to her.
In at 6, Janet Jackson. I see Janet Jackson as an 80s icon, right up there with her brother Michael. Sure, she didn't have as much fame as her brother, but she still made quite the name for herself and still got a lot of notoriety. Her career really picked up in the 80s with the release of her first album, which shared her name. From that point on, she was releasing music and creating music videos of the same style and production caliber as Michael. She also starred in movies like The Nutty Professor 2 and Poetic Justice. She was also an 80s style icon. Just take a look at her. She had the big curly hair, the classic 80s blazer, and the bold jewelry along with it. I kind of think that I dress like 80s Janet sometimes, and I'm not even mad about it. Now fast forward to 2020, Janet is looking so different, she's almost unrecognizable. She actually looks kind of like my aunt. In a good way. But anyways, Janet is still looking good. Yeah, she's had some work done, but then again, who in Hollywood hasn't, right? She traded in her big curls for a softer look and now has more defined features like her cheekbones and nose. Her facial structure definitely looks different, but she's still looking awesome.
Halfway through, at number 5 is Jonathan Lipnicki. It was back in 1996 when the spiky-haired cutie totally upstaged Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger in the movie Jerry Maguire. He was only 6 years old when he took on the role, and from there, his career took off from that moment on. He took on lead roles in Stuart Little, Like Mike, Dr. Dolittle, and many more. But in more recent years, he's opened up about the anxiety and bullying that he faced when he was a young star. He said that he was always called a has-been, and he was told that he wouldn't book future roles. However, he was able to, and he continued to live out his dreams of being an actor. He's currently 29 years old and clearly likes to work out on his free time. That is what I've gathered from this research. Oh, and he's single, in case you're wondering.
In at number 4, Miley Cyrus. We all fell in love with Miley Cyrus when she was playing Hannah Montana as a preteen. And in those times, she had a signature youthful look, which included long brown curly hair and conservative clothing. But as time went on and she tried to break the child star mold, she turned into something we all never expected and became completely unrecognizable. When she released Can't Be Tamed is when she got slightly more sexy, but when she released Bangers was when there was a whole new Miley. With bleach blonde pixie cut hair, way less clothing, and way more controversial dance moves. Miley has been through tons of phases since, being more tame, then more wild. Her current look is completely original, sporting a bleach blonde mullet, and still as scandalous as ever. And at number 3, Jocelyn Wildenstein. The former socialite is best known for having one of the most botched plastic surgery of all time. With one doctor flat out saying, quote, Jocelyn Wildenstein is a poster child for plastic surgery gone wrong. Apparently Jocelyn, who's known as the quote line woman of New York, reportedly underwent dozens of plastic surgeries, all to win back her husband. So I guess let this be a lesson to everyone to never do anything like this for a man. One doctor believes she had a brow lift, facelift, lip plumping injections, chin augmentation, fat grafting and or cheek implants, upper and lower eyelid surgery, and a catheoplexy, a procedure that elevates the eyes to give them that cat-like appearance. Which of course is quite a lot of work. And apparently the woman, who's now over 70 years old, said she's not done with surgery and has an addiction. When she split from Alec Wildenstein in 1999, who is a billionaire businessman, she set a record of divorce settlements and became one of America's wealthiest women. And the craziest part is that she denies having any work done, and says her high cheekbones and long hair is because of her Swiss background. Let me know below if you think it's all natural. And at number 2, Bella Thorne. Bella Thorne's a former Disney star who went through the classic transformation of rebellion and rebranding to break her Disney image. She first got started on the hit Disney show Shake It Up in 2010, but now she's known as being the antithesis of a Disney starlet. Bella still acts in tons of movies, but her image is generally more edgy than the girl next door she used to play. She's also known for her racy Instagram photos that she has now transferred to her OnlyFans, being one of the site's top creators. She even produced an adult film a few years ago. And for her physical transformation, before she was wholesome and sweet, and now she's edgy and artistic, usually with her hair dyed bright colors and wearing heavy, colorful makeup.
Finally in at number 1, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes is probably one of the most unrecognizable people on this list, both look-wise and career-wise. I'm sure you're all aware of Amanda's downfall from Hollywood, her time in rehab, and her public stunts. A lot of her public misfortunes and mishaps happened around 2012 to 2014-ish. But it's so crazy to think that just a few years before all this happened, she looked like this. Amanda was seen at red carpet events with her signature long blonde hair, looking the way that she had for much of her career as a child/teen star. At the time, Amanda was one of the it people in Hollywood, and she was cast in a lot of comedy and coming of age films. But when things changed for her and her career, Amanda sort of disappeared much from the public eye. But just recently she's resurfaced, and with a new look too. Amanda now has a sort of e-girl-esque vibe going on. She's got her flannel, graphic tee, and ripped light wash mom jeans. I'm kind of living for this look, not gonna lie. I mean, it's very different from the way she used to look, but as long as she's happy with herself, I'm on board.